build a fast and relatively cheap multi-strand fence that'll keep in cows and goats. We've done this very effectively down here and at a reasonable cost, much faster than our wood post and welded wire fence. We're also going to tell you the things necessary and share our experience with you about what it takes to keep the escape artist, the goat, in the fence. This pasture is done. The goats and the cow have been on it, and it's just eaten down, I would say even a little beyond where we would want it. So we need to try to get the animals off here, ideally for a couple weeks. I rustled up all the T-posts that I could from around the place, pulled some of them out of the ground, pulled some of them out of the barn. I've got a T-post driver. There's Miss Dolly. Miss Dolly, we're doing this for you largely. We're trying to turn this pasture right up here from kind of a wild area that it is to more ideal grazing for the cow. It's mostly weeds now. There is a lot of grass in there that she'll benefit from while she's up there, but we do want to transform it, knock down the weeds, let the grass start taking over. The first step in installing a fence like this is to clear the path. You can see I've done that. I've cleared a nice path along here with my weed eater. The next step is to lay out posts. I've laid my posts out about every 20 or 30 feet along this line. Now it's time to get to work and drive some T-posts. 30 T-posts, and I believe all the line that I'll need for this fence cost a total of about $300. And that may seem like a lot to some of you. If you've put in fences, it probably doesn't seem like a lot. The cool thing about most of these components of the fence, the T-posts and also the poly wire and the wire we're using, they're basically reusable. So you could set this fence up in one place and then you could adjust it later. This is really just a temporary fence, partially our response to having put in such a wonderful heavy-duty fence in our main pasture, but having spent a lot of money and a lot of time on it, we said, hey, we're gonna try something different. We're gonna put up a fast, cheap fence. The next step is to put insulators on all of your posts. I'm using just these easy snap-on insulators. I'm using this wooden gauge stick to know where to put my insulators at. I've got a bucket with over 100 insulators. If you're trying to fence goats, I'm not going to tell you exactly how high to put your wires. It kind of depends on your goats. If you have a goat that jumps, you may need to go higher. Whenever I've seen ours try to go through a fence and get shocked, they always try to go underneath it. So I'm putting 3 wires about 8/16, 24 inches from the ground, and then one about 10 inches above those. Containing the cow is easy. She'll pretty much stay inside one real hot wire. I wanted to talk really briefly about how to keep goats, the escape artists, in your fences. When you make a fence, you make really only 3 possible types of barriers. There's physical barriers, there's visual barriers, and there's psychological barriers. This welded wire fence right here, it's actually a significant physical barrier. Because it's tensioned, you can bounce your body into it and you won't knock it down. This flimsy poly wire and wire gate behind me is really solely a psychological barrier. Kind of the ultimate example of a psychological barrier is a string. And if you put up a string, it will actually keep some animals in because they think that it's electric. So that's a psychological barrier. They say you should be careful and not use a fence that's only based on a psychological barrier between an animal and something very dangerous, or a dangerous animal and humans, because it is possible for animals to pass straight through an electric fence. So all this said, what does it take to keep goats inside a fence? The main thing it takes is keeping the goats happy inside the fence. Because almost no fence in the world will keep a starving goat or will keep a buck interested in a doe inside your fence. Goats can jump 5 and even higher foot fences. Our goats have never jumped our fences, and we think partially it's because they've always had plenty to eat and they have been happy inside the fence. The goats have everything they could want up here. They'll have fresh water and they'll have browse to their heart's content. Hey, pretty princess. You coming out to visit in the evening? I always think on the camera you can't really tell how dark it is, but it's starting to get dark out here. I think I better shut this video down. I've got up 2 strands. It's not too dark to work, so I'm gonna run some wire around this, run 1 or 2 strands of wire if I have light. I appreciate you joining me in this video, and if I don't get the animals out here tomorrow, then we'll get them out here day after tomorrow in the morning, because this fence is coming close to being done and ready. Y'all have a great night. That was another great day on the homestead.